Hello again. I'm sure that most viewers will be familiar with the fictional realm of Wakanda and indigenous African civilization from the Marvel universe. I expect many will also have heard the proud boast among less well-educated black people that we were kings, in reference to the supposed blackness of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. The most popular of this sort of claims, though, relates to a semi-legendary figure who was, it is said, the richest man the world has ever seen. This is Mansa Musa, who was a black sultan in sub-Saharan Africa. An extraordinary number of accounts of this man are circulating on the internet, and he is very popular with black people because it seems to them that his existence shows that there were great civilizations in medieval Africa, just as there were at that time in Europe and Asia. Unfortunately, this is all nonsense. It is nonsense because we know absolutely nothing at all about Mansa Musa other than what he himself claimed when he was thousands of miles from his own country to an Arab in Cairo called Ibn Amir Hajib. Ibn Amir Hajib then told another Arab called Al-Umari what Mansa Musa had said, and it is from Al-Umari's second-hand account that we learn almost all of what we know about Mansa Musa. Neither of those men ever visited the kingdom of Mali, which Mansa Musa ruled, so their description of the splendour and wealth of the place relies only upon what they were told. A Berber scholar called Ibn Batoutah did visit Mali, but that was in 1351, 20 years or so after the death of Mansa Musa. What Ibn Batoutah saw there was not nearly so impressive as what had been claimed by Mansa Musa when he was in Cairo on his pilgrimage to Mecca. The only other sources about Mansa Musa and Mali are two 17th century works, but since they were written 300 years after his death, we can perhaps disregard what they say, or at the very least treat it with the utmost caution. The claim that Mansa Musa was the world's richest man is a fairly recent one. It's not mentioned in any of the sources I have just listed. Al-Umari mentions the idea that the amount of gold which Mansa Musa spent in Egypt was so great that it caused economic chaos. But set against this is the fact that when he returned to Cairo from Mecca, again according to Al-Umari, he had spent all his money and was completely broke. He had to borrow money in Cairo and sell a lot of the souvenirs he had bought there to raise money just so he could get back to his own country. This doesn't sound very much the sort of thing that the richest man in the world would have to do. Although neither al-Ahmari nor Ibn Amir Hajib actually went to Mali to check how truthful Mansa Musa had been about his kingdom, Ibn Battuta, who was from what is now Morocco, went there in 1351. His account of the place doesn't really tie in with what Mansa Musa was telling everybody in Cairo. Since it is the only first-hand description of the place, it's worth reading. After crossing the Sahara in a camel caravan, Ibn Battuta arrived at a place called Taghaza. This is now in the north of the modern-day country of Mali. Slabs of rock salt were mined here at the time that Ibn Battuta visited the town, and the heavy work was undertaken by slaves from the Masufa tribe. After spending some time in Taghaza, the caravan moved south again, eventually reaching the capital of the Empire of Mali, which lay on the banks of the river Niger. This was a Muslim realm ruled by a black African sultan who was actually the brother of Mansa Musa. Slaves were so common there that Ibn Battuta was even given one as a present. After looking at other districts of West Africa, Ibn Battuta returned to Morocco, travelling north with a caravan which was transporting 600 female slaves north across the Sahara. Whatever prosperity the Kingdom of Mali did have was nearly all based upon the slave trade. which is ironic when you consider how vociferous many people are these days about that particular business, trafficking in human beings. This is where all the fabled gold found its way into Mali. This is what made Mali rich, or as rich as it actually was, which was nothing like as rich as Mansa Musa had claimed when he was on his Hajj. The gold was not mined, but rather exchanged with Arab traders who purchased slaves and rock salt, paying for these commodities in gold. That is where the money was coming from to make Mansa Musa rich. The realm of Mali was not poor at that time, but neither was it remarkably wealthy. As in the rest of Africa, south of the Sahara, the buildings were nearly all built of mud. There was little to recommend it when comparing it with cities such as Cairo and Damascus, let alone Rome and Paris. In the description to this video, I'll give a few references which between them contain all that was written about Mansa Musa and Mali in the 14th century. All the wonderful things which one reads about now on the internet are fantasies created chiefly in the 21st century as a way of providing black people with a fictional history of which they need not feel ashamed.